I love empowering entrepreneurs to simplify to amplify. And that means simplifying everything that they're doing just so that they could go and talk to more people and meet more humans that they can help serve. So that's really what I love to do. One of the things that our family does really well is we use points for various things. My mom does this for all of our businesses that we have because she also runs a consulting firm with my dad. And they do what they call point stacking. So if you're going somewhere, what they will do is they will have an awards account with, say a restaurant. It will be like the airlines, the hotels, all the different things. And then they will also couple that with a credit card that also has points. And so every time they go somewhere, so if we eat at the hotel that we're actually staying at, we will put the whole bill on the hotel point on the hotel, and then we get the points from the hotel, and then we also get the points from the credit card. So then it makes it to where when we need to stay somewhere else later on, we have free meals, we have free stays, we get free airline miles, all these different things.
My mom also is an entrepreneur. My grandmother was also an entrepreneur. So definitely kind of an interesting thing. And yes, I'm so glad that we now have the availability to allow women an easier place in the entrepreneurial space. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jacqueline or Jax Kreider. Today we have Ms. Jennifer with us. She is a lifelong entrepreneur. Family is also entrepreneur, so this goes way back. It is in her blood. And we are super excited to have her today. Welcome, Jennifer. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, why you're excited to be on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. And like Jack said, I am a third generation woman entrepreneur. And for those of you who like to do a little bit of math, that means that my grandmother actually owned businesses before women actually could do that in the United States. So yes, it is definitely in my blood. And I love empowering entrepreneurs to simplify to amplify. And that means simplifying everything that they're doing just so that they could go and talk to more people and meet more humans that they can help serve. So that's really what I love to do. And integrating that with my family that I routinely take with me, including my homeschool children, to events and conferences and things like that, and giving them their experiences that they'll never forget.
Love that. Well, and so important. I have 3 adult children as well as then I have a 4-year-old. So, early and late anyways, but the 4-year-old, not only is she a little bit neurodivergent, but like we're thinking very heavily about homeschooling for some of those reasons, right? Because, kind of immersing her, allowing her to see things from a different perspective. So important when it comes to kids and money and all the things. And so I absolutely love that. And I know that today you wanted to talk a little bit kind of about one of the ways that you utilize money to your advantage. And it's definitely something that, in my mind, if you're not really careful, you could definitely get yourself in trouble. So you definitely have to be really diligent and smart about how you do this. But a lot of people do it. And so tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that our family does really well is we use points for various things. And my mom does this for all of our businesses that we have because she also runs a consulting firm with my dad. And they do what they call point stacking. So if you're going somewhere, what they will do is they will have an awards account with, say a restaurant. It will be like the airlines, the hotels, all the different things. And then they will also couple that with a credit card that also has points. And so every time they go somewhere, so if we eat at the hotel that we're actually staying at, we will put the whole bill on the hotel point on the hotel, and then we get the points from the hotel, and then we also get the points from the credit card. So then it makes it to where when we need to stay somewhere else later on, we have free meals, we have free stays, we get free airline miles, all these different things. And a lot of people don't realize that you can do this in such a way. Some of the credit cards you have to apply for certain things, but we've been able to go years sometimes without paying for hotel rooms when we've traveled places.
Well, and if you do either run your own business or let's say that you happen to be somebody who has a lot of work expenses where you're reimbursed, right? Not that you have like a company credit card, but like you actually have to utilize your own, you have to outlay the amount, and then you have to go ahead and submit an expense report, which is pretty common, right, for a lot of workers and things like that. And so Yes, my mom also is an entrepreneur. And it's funny that you were talking about generations of entrepreneurs because I never really thought about it. But my grandmother was also an entrepreneur. She owned her own poodle shop, as well as my opa owned his own key, like he was a locksmith, so he owned his own little locksmith kind of shop as well. And so you're talking about third generation entrepreneurs. I was like, actually, I think that's my situation kind of as well. So definitely kind of an interesting thing. And yes, I'm so glad that we now have the availability to allow women an easier place in the entrepreneurial space, because it definitely has not been easy. I say all that to say that my mom, in the course of running her businesses, she is interior design, as well as until very recently ran a storefront. So she had a home holiday decor store that she owned the building, and then she rented it back to the business, and went all these things. And she literally would run every single thing through her business on her credit card, where she would get points for airline miles specifically. So she didn't do as much traveling to hotels and things like that. Most of her business is here. And usually, if they are traveling, they're traveling where my dad, his company was paying for hotels and things like that, or whatever. So they would use, his company credit card, etc. But we took almost, like, I would say, most of our trips as a family through points, right? And definitely a lot of good ways to do it. And I think a lot of people, so first of all, it's important for me to note that I am not necessarily pro or anti debt. And a lot of people can say, how can you say that? You work in mortgage, right? You have to be pro debt, because otherwise you can't really exist as a entrepreneur, right? If I'm anti debt, I'm not pro or anti debt. I think that debt is a vehicle that can be utilized for your gain, but you have to do it smartly. You have to think it through. You have to know yourself. You have to ask yourself hard questions. So when people tell me, oh, well, should I do this? I'm like, well, there's more questions you have to be asking yourself, right? We have to have a lot more self awareness to make sure that this is something that doesn't put us behind, right? That it is doing what
Right.
you're suggesting, putting us ahead.
Right. Yeah. And it makes it to where, like when we need to go and we need to do different things, if you know how to utilize debt correctly, it can definitely help you out in the short term and in the long term, because if you know how to do those and you know how to do that correctly, then you could go to get sponsorships. You could go and you could get all these other things because they know that the money is going to be taken care of.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and I mean, I think that's one thing that people just really get away from. And I'm gonna say that, and I know you and I definitely prescribe to AI. I think that that is a good thing, and that it's definitely kind of moving people forward. And so there's so many different aspects of AI. I firmly believe that people should be utilizing some of these things to simplify, because some of the reasons that people get themselves into trouble when it comes to utilizing credit cards for exactly what you're talking about, right? Like we're trying to stack all these points together to alleviate some of the expenses that we would come about, right? With restaurants, or, hotel stays, airline miles, whatever it is, right? You can definitely get yourself into a debt where it's not a good situation, right? Where you're actually paying more than you would just pay if you paid out in cash, in how much you're paying in finance charges and things like this, right? So it's a very delicate balance of like how you have to weigh this out. And so you can utilize tools like AI or whatever you're going to use to track, right? To make sure. And the one thing that I tell people all the time, and I don't think that they really realize it, is like, for instance, my largest credit card that I utilize to put most of the things on that I receive points through. It is like a revolving door. I am constantly putting money down on it. And then, so basically putting money on it, paying it down, putting money on it, paying it down, putting money on it, paying it down. And you have to be diligent to really understand where you're at, because otherwise what will happen is you're going to wake up, you're going to pull the account, and you're going to be like, holy crap, how did I charge $20,000 worth of?
Right. Yeah. You have to be cognizant of like one wants and needs as well too. If we're getting down to the basics of that, if we're simplifying it, you can't just go and have these credit cards and then just put whatever you want on there, especially when you're talking about business, because there are certain things that you can't take off, and that you have to report to the taxes. And when you do that, if there's charges on there that are a business account, then you're not going to be able to take them off. And so you have to know what you can and can't do, and that comes with proper education. You know, like a couple of years ago, they decided that entertainment can no longer have alcohol on it, and so knowing like if you take clients to dinner and they buy alcohol, you have to have a separate bill. You know, you have to separate that out because you can't have entertainment on the same bill anymore. And so you have to be very, very cognizant of what's actually needed and what is a want for your business. And so keeping that in mind, you're going to figure out like, oh, I can't just go and have a $10,000 trip and be like, well, why did I spend all that money? And be like, oh my gosh, now I got to hustle and grind to like get a $10,000 contract the next day so that I can pay it off. But if you're mindful and you know like where all these pieces fit and like why you're doing it, then you're able to say, okay, like now I have all this stuff that's coming in that's going to cover that. So it's a lot of preparations, it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of education, and knowing like what is actually needed, what isn't needed. You know, obviously, yes, you want to, you know, put your best foot forward, but that doesn't mean that you have to be like the biggest spender everywhere you go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, anybody who does stuff that is similar to point stacking, but kind of in a different vein, like coupon, extreme couponing and things like that or whatever. A lot of times, this is also just, kind of understanding when and when not to utilize it, right? Like, how do you go through and you say, okay, like this, we're gonna, this, we're getting most points this date or this time or whatever, and so there's a lot of ability and opportunity that people don't realize, right? That you can really leverage these things, but you do have to be intentional. And that's something that I talk about a lot on the podcast. It's just intentionality. You're not going to do everything perfectly, first of all. It's important to remember you're not going to sometimes you are going to bite off a little more than you can chew. You might take out or make a bad decision, right? You might step into it and say, okay, I bought that thing. And then I was like, well, why did I buy that? Maybe that wasn't the wisest choice. And you could spend forever beating yourself up about all the choices that we didn't make well. But as long as you're taking the intentional steps forward and you are trying to make a educated, knowing choice, and that's one of the biggest factors, then, progress over perfection. You're going to just have to continue to move forward, right? Utilize some of these advantages, but there's huge advantages to being able to point stack. I don't know. Are you familiar at all with, I think it's called Founders Club, Founders Membership? You're familiar with that at all?
Mm-mm,
So if
no.
you're self-employed, or like 1099, so that is technically considered self-employed. Some people who are 1099 don't consider themselves self-employed, but they are contract labor. So technically, by the IRS standards, you are self-employed. Just in case you're listening to this and you don't know that. If you fall under that bucket, you can join something called the Founders Club. Founders Club basically is leveraging, so you know how like major corporations will go out to providers like Enterprise or Hilton Hotels or whatever it is, and they create a corporate rate. So as opposed to paying, the regular flat rate that you see when you are on the website, they come in and they say like this is our special price. Founders Club has done the exact same thing. You do pay a fee for it. I can't remember exactly how much it is. I think it's maybe $500 a year or something like that, but there's some pretty significant perks, especially if you do travel a lot, where you again can take kind of what you're suggesting, the point stacking with specific credit cards and things like that, and leverage other things like this kind of a membership, right? One of the reasons that my husband and I actually signed up to do this membership was because a ton of the mortgage real estate related conferences end up in Vegas. Not surprising, these are very addictive personalities usually. So gambling, drinking kind of goes with the mix. Whether it should or not is irrelevant. We're not discussing that. But we end up in Vegas a fair bit of time, right? And so in Vegas, who gets the best hotel deals? Well, usually it's people who gamble significantly, right? Like that's who gets really great hotel deals. And we don't really. My husband gambles some, but it's usually poker, which is not the gamblers that they are interested in. They want the people who are spending massive amount of money like at slots or blackjack or, roulette games, things like this, right? And so that is not our speed. And so we were looking for ways to kind of hack, if you will, how do I get down my cost, right? Through this. And this actually makes you, I believe it's, don't quote me, I think it's diamond level, but I could be wrong, with Caesars. So that membership automatically gives you where you can get really either free or discounted hotel rooms, depending on when you're booking the dates and all that kind of stuff. And it allowed us to go to Vegas and spend significantly less money on lodging versus going ahead and having to just outlay all this or just kind of deal with it. Like, it is what it is. We're not gamblers. So, oh well.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Hello and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4693733 107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a much better thing when you know what you're looking for to be able to maximize whatever it is you're doing. So that's one of the benefits. Like, we use American Express, and they're similar to the Founders Club. They have their own Founders Circle-ish type thing, and it's pretty good as well too. And so you get discounted rates, you get all of these different things, and then you can even actually use points to buy the stuff, so that it becomes free as well too. And so it's very interesting at how there's a lot of these different spaces that are out there that allow you to do that, and so many people don't even know they exist, or that's how, like, well, why is Jennifer going all these different places? How is she able to do that? Like, what is she doing different than I'm doing? And we're leveraging basically sitting down and reading the terms and conditions of these different, memberships that we have. Some of the people don't even know, talking about benefits, is like American Express has one of the best benefits for technology, like buying phones, buying computers, all these different things, that their warranties for like electronics doesn't kick in until after the manufacturer's warranty is expired. And so
Nice.
you actually get all of these different benefits, and most people don't even know. They don't even know it exists, and they're just out there like spending all of this extra money that they don't even have to spend.
Right. No, and that's an excellent point. And something that I will point out for those maybe listening who maybe you aren't an entrepreneur, you work for a corporation or whatever, you still can run a lot of your regular bills through things like this to be able to establish and deal with points. And it's important for you to make sure that you're leveraging whatever corporation you maybe work for if they have one of these kind of programs that offer you significant discounts and things like that. A lot of major corporations, they have something where if you sign up for it, it will allow you to know, right? Like, okay, on these type of products, you get this kind of a discount or whatever. And most major technology corporations like HP or Dell, things like that, or whatever, right? Depending on the relationship. So I would tell you, look around your corporation, see what kind of computers are being utilized. I promise you, they have a discount program for all of the employees that work for that corporation because they're buying pretty deep in that technology realm. And so as a fringe benefit, they're saying, hey, okay, we'll also give you, for your employees, like just general computer purchases, we'll also give you 10, 20, 30, 40% off, whatever it is, right? We'll give you some sort of employee pricing type of a situation. And so many people don't even know that exists. So they're literally, to your point, overpaying because either their credit card might offer them something that, they now have access to, and that would allow them to not have to buy something extra, or they could get discounts, right, through their corporation, through some of the memberships that they're already a part of. But you have to kind of see, and when in doubt, as crazy as it sounds, literally go to ChatGPT and ask it, like, I have this credit card or whatever, I have this whatever, what kind of extra benefits is offered to me. A lot of times we think like it's so complicated. Like, I think I can imagine people are listening to this podcast and they're like, okay, Jennifer, you and Jax have time to go sit on your laurels, right? And all your free time, because, as entrepreneurs, right, we've got a lot of free time. That's what people think about us. We must be sitting around eating bonbons. And so you guys can read like the manual or whatever, right? And know all the loopholes and whatever. Well, the truth is, guys, is like, first of all, no, I don't have enough time to do that. And even if I do, I'm pretty sure the giant manual of whatever it is that came with my credit card or thingamabob, I'm gonna be put to sleep in about 5 minutes, so I'm not gonna be reading it. But you can work harder, not smarter, and utilize things like ChatGPT, Google, whatever it is you want to utilize to find this information out. It exists in pretty easy form, or I guarantee you, somebody who deals with points and that's what their content they create about has made a YouTube video about it. I promise. So you can find it. You just got to do a little digging.
And don't forget, like a lot of these carriers as well too, they have a customer support and they're willing to help you understand those, especially if it comes to retention. I mean, I cannot tell you, I worked for T-Mobile at one point, and I will tell you, like, retention was like the number one focus. So they will do anything and everything to help you stay there longer. When that comes around, like they're like these are, did you know that this is part of your benefits? Like, most people don't know that Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all of these major credit card companies, you have so many benefits that are even available through your bank card that most people don't even know. And it's buried in your terms and conditions. And yes, please use ChatGPT, use Perplexity, use Claude, use one of those to be like, hey, here's the terms and conditions of my credit card. Can you please tell me all of the benefits that I have that I didn't even know? And once you do that, you're going to be discovering like, oh my gosh, I have warranty on my stuff I didn't even know I had. I have all of these different things. Travel is a big thing right now, especially with how everything is going, and how everything has been going. There's benefits in travel. I cannot tell you the number of times that I was delayed more than 4 hours. And I know American Express's rule, depending on the card you have, if you're delayed more than 4 hours or you're delayed overnight, they cover your lodging, your food, and then they give you all of your travel expenses back. So they basically give you your hotel stays and your flights and stuff to and from wherever you went back to you. And so when you really sit down and you think about that, like, so many people are leaving so much money on the table, not just entrepreneurs, but just everyday people, because they're not reading the terms and the conditions of the credit cards they're using, even the ones attached to their bank account.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is a lot of benefit. I mean, we learned early on that, like, for instance, any of the people who are listening who are younger, or even maybe some older people don't realize this either. When you rent a car, depending on what credit card you put it on, almost all of them have some protection when it comes to the insurance for the vehicle. And so a lot of times, what is the car company trying to do, right? They're trying to upsell you the $8 jillion a day package for in case you hit anybody or anybody hits you or whatever. And the truth is that you're covered under the credit card, and most of the time you're also covered under your actual own insurance. So like the insurance policy that you have on your personal vehicle, if you have a personal vehicle, right? A lot of times will cover to a certain level on that as well. Now it may or may not meet the state minimums and things like that if you're like inside the United States and things of that sort. But if you have pretty good car insurance, which if you don't, I'm going to just highly encourage you to up those limits. Coming from a former person who used to work at insurance, please, it literally doesn't cost you very much more to have a little bit better than those state minimums. So please, please, please look to do that. But yes, it will cover a lot of that. And a lot of people don't even realize or recognize that that is the situation. And the reason that they don't realize it is because they have literally never, done it. And let's talk for a second about why that is. I mean, the truth is that we have our hands in so many more pots right now than we ever have as a society. And there's a lot of noise, and being ADHD, I can get heavily overwhelmed. And so I just highly encourage you, as you're listening to this, if you are getting overwhelmed and you're like, wow, that's great, Jennifer. That's great, Jax. You guys are having this conversation and it's awesome. But that's like a lot of things, right? Just sort of take it off like one bite at a time to figure out like what's something that you want to make the focus of, like kind of understanding. Okay, I have a big trip coming up. Okay, how do I leverage points, memberships, things that I already have at my disposal that I'm not going to be paying anything extra for, to make my trip less expensive or more convenient, right? Like quite a few different credit cards offer the ability to go to their lounges. And so, when you're traveling, can you go to a lounge and then there's going to be food or just a nice place for you to rest or something like that, right? Like, so there's so many different things that you can utilize like that, as opposed to going into the 8 million different credit cards you may or may not have, the 8 million different memberships you may or may not have. Like, just kind of take it one by one and just see like what kind of things can you leverage, because it can definitely help you. And especially with a lot of people struggling kind of in the current economy situation, any dollar that you can find that you can save that you basically didn't have to do anything extra to get is a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. And it does just take a little bit of time. You really do have to just chunk it up. It may start with just putting a list together of like all the memberships that you currently have that are active, and that are going to be active when you're wherever you're going. And then also leverage if there's any kind of like discounts that are out there for joining. So if you're not a member of like the resort club that you're going to, or any of these different things, but they're offering something for you to join and get points, leverage that, because the only thing that it will do is benefit you, because you could get points while you're there. And sometimes when you're there, they'll give you other benefits, but then also make it a point to maybe just once a day, reach out to one or two of the customer service people and ask them, like, what benefits do I have? Because you may discover all sorts of things. Not only do you have insurance for your car, but sometimes you have insurance for your technology. Sometimes you have insurance for your stays. Sometimes you have insurance for lost things. Take, for instance, Life 360. Most people don't know they have it on their phone. They're watching their children. It keeps families connected. But did you know that you can get up to 50 miles of roadside assistance? People will tow. They'll come and they'll jump off your car. You could have a nurse that'll call you on site. They also have identity protection. So they have all of these extra benefits, and most people don't even know that they're there. And they have these things and they're paying $20 a month for it. And they have their family circle and they don't even know that they could have somebody come jump off their car. Or they have travel protection. So if you get stuck somewhere and your luggage gets lost, you get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's just so many different aspects that people can tap into that they can utilize. But it is, and I get it. There's a lot, it can definitely be a little bit overwhelming, etc. I'm gonna speak for a second to some of the things that are offered for veterans. So my husband is a disabled veteran, and so the VA offers, some things themselves, but then a lot of companies and things will offer discounts to veterans. And so make sure that you keep an eye out. Like, I know that T-Mobile, they have special programs that they offer for veterans. I know that Paramount Plus, that we basically get 50% off of our subscription to Paramount Plus. So for instance, in our particular case, it allowed us to actually spend the same money, but now we don't have commercials for that particular subscription, right? So there's a lot of different things too for maybe the organization that you've served in,
Mom,
and or the different things that you're a part of. So not necessarily, maybe you're not a veteran, but you're a member of a group or something like that that has some of these kind of offerings. And so oftentimes people are not leaning into that either. And there's so many different things. Like for instance, another veteran one is something called vet ticks. And vet ticks, basically people who, let's say that they run a venue of some kind, and they have different kinds of events there, sporting events, theater events, any of these kind of things, whatever. If they don't sell all their tickets, they a lot of times will give them to vet ticks, and then you can put yourself in a lottery or even just go get tickets, and you might have to pay like a small fee, but you're not paying like the full fee to get into the event. And there's so many different things like that over the course of time that you can check out and do. And again, this is again where I'm going to tell you leverage technology, right? Whether it be Google, whether it be YouTube, whether it be ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of those or whatever, right? And you were talking about talk to the customer service group. I guarantee you, if you go to their actual website, if they're a pretty major corporation, they now have an AI bot on the actual website that you could talk to. You can literally ask it, like, what are the different benefits of being a member of this particular credit card, whatever it is with you, and it's going to spit out like a list, right, organized for you. Or you could even say, do you have benefits like this, whatever. And most of the time, most of those AI chatbots are going to be able to give you a pretty good understanding of what you can or can't do.
Yes, yes, and there's just a plethora of just support and help out there. I think the best thing we could do is just encourage people to just keep being more educated about how to stretch the dollar further, how to figure out like what benefits do I have? This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. This is my goals. How can I maximize that to have the maximum impact that I'm looking for at wherever I'm going? It doesn't matter if it's a business trip, a vacation, homeschool hangouts, like we do here, whatever it is. How can I maximize the benefit? Like what's going to allow everything to stretch further? And I think when you start getting into that space of asking that question all the time, no matter what you're doing, you're going to find all of the ways that, oh my gosh, now I could have these people and I could partner with these people for this. I could partner with these people for this. And then you'll find that it will stretch everything so much further with less having to put up capital.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I would encourage people to do is simplify a little bit, as opposed to, because like what we see in my space a lot, right? So in the mortgage space, we get to see people's credit very frequently, right? We are always pulling credit reports and we see them. And so a lot of times what I see is I'll see that somebody went to a department store, right? They bought, I don't know, however many $100 of things. And the department store said, oh, do you want an extra 20, 30, 40% off, whatever it was? Then go ahead and apply for a credit card, right? And it's definitely very tempting because you're definitely going to save some potentially significant money on that first transaction, etc. But I highly encourage people before they go and like take out every credit card under the sun, everything, that you be pretty strategic on what you want to do, right? What is going to align with the kind of benefits that you're looking for? What is going to align with the type of lifestyle that you live, right? Like all of these different things. And that's obviously going to shift over time. But you having 40 different credit cards with, all these varying different things, first of all, not only is that going to overwhelm the crap out of you as you're trying to figure out what benefits do I use? Which ones do I not use or whatever, right? And it's going to make your wallet really, really crazy thick. The other thing that it's going to do is it's just going to potentially negatively affect your credit. It really does depend on how many you have, what your utilization looks like. So I'm not going to say, because I'm definitely not, somebody who is the credit expert. I just deal with it a whole huge amount. So just to understand that simplifying down and kind of figuring out maybe your 2 to 3 cards that are going to probably maximize that the most for you is probably a good place to start. And then if you need to add one here and there, but I will tell you, just try to be strategic and intentional with the ad, because otherwise it is going to get a little bit overwhelming, and you are definitely going to get a little bit in the weeds of trying to figure out what it is and what do I need to utilize and how do I need to utilize it, right? And so I know Jennifer and I have thrown around a lot of good suggestions of different ways that you can utilize these things. That doesn't mean that we're suggesting to go out and get 40,000 credit cards today. It means figure out what you already have, number one, right? And then figure out if you do need to add something, what do you need to add? Like, what would that look like for you? What would help benefit your life and lessen the potential cost of just living your everyday life, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's the best place to start, because even going and trying to figure out like which credit cards are going to be beneficial, then that's a whole rabbit in itself. So I would encourage people to start with what they have first, because they may find that they have a lot more benefits than they think they do already, even
For sure.
even if it's just as simple as having a bank account and then their debit card is a Visa or a MasterCard. They have a lot more benefits than most people even think that they do from there. And I would encourage them to start there. And not only that, their bank, their insurance companies, there's some hidden benefits that are in insurance policies that a lot of people aren't aware of. Everyday things that we already buy, health care insurance, all these different things. There's so much already around us, and people don't even know what they are. Not even getting into the retirement accounts, all these other different avenues that you can utilize as well too.
Yeah, no, that's a very excellent point. And I think, as we're sort of wrapping up this conversation, that is really great advice. Definitely start with what you've already got, because a lot of times it is important to remember that there are a lot of probably hidden benefits that you don't even realize that you can just go right from the rip, right? And if we are looking to add things, I'm going to also encourage people to not necessarily be afraid of some of the ones that do potentially have a cost every year for like the membership piece. Again, you don't want to do it unless you know that the benefit is going to outweigh, right? Like what you're going to spend. But oftentimes those accelerated programs can benefit you a lot greater than, you saying, I don't want anyone that has any type of a cost associated with it, right? Like I don't want a credit card that has an annual fee, etc. Not necessarily for everybody and not necessarily for every stage of your life. However, can be a really good thing for potentially traveling or some of the bigger ticket items that you may encounter. So just don't be afraid to look into them and then, make an intentional aligned choice there. And Jennifer, I know as we're wrapping up that there's something that you wanted to offer the listener. So tell us a little bit about that and like where they can find that.
Yeah, so I offer a school community for entrepreneurs who want to simplify to amplify. And I share tips and tricks of how they can simplify to really be able to be more empowered to go out and do their thing that they're passionate about helping people with. And whether that's dissecting frameworks, whether that's talking about how we integrate life and family and all these different things and how we use all of these different tools. Yeah, I know it will be listed below in the show notes, so you guys can go and you can join it there. Or you can find me on socials. I think my socials will also be attached there, and guys can follow along with me and go into some really cool places this year. I think, Jacqueline, we're going to be probably at AI Marketing World again together.
We will.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, no, and that is so awesome and so helpful. I think simplifying down, especially when you're an entrepreneur, is an amazing thing, because let's be real, again, we're getting pulled in 8 million different directions, and especially if you're a solopreneur, I mean, you feel like you have to wear 4,000 hats. And so sometimes, you need to step back, and again, like as we're suggesting with some of this point situation, credit card situation, as opposed to just, throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, like kind of making intentional aligned choices. And definitely like that's something that I do a lot in my program, like Financial Instincts Framework. We're looking to help you figure out what are your natural instincts and like how do we lean into that, as opposed to you just, okay, well, Jennifer said to do this, and Jack said to do this person said to do this, or whatever. Well, what do your actual instincts tell you that you should be doing, right? Like what naturally is going to be the easiest path for you to try to walk down. And then once we sort of start having you there, how do we expand that out, right? How do we help you just propel forward? And so I love that you offer that. And so definitely, guys, check it out. Hopefully this episode of Financial Mastery Simplified was helpful for you. And again, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Financial Mastery Simplified.